Hi everyone. Welcome to Tea Time with AuthorAID, and thank you so much for joining in. We have Dr. I'm suffering from cold also, so don't mind my voice. I'd like to welcome Dr. Zainab and Dr. Joyce for joining us today. They are our hosts for this session, and we are talking about my wellness as a researcher here. Tea Time with AuthorAID is a flagship event of AuthorAID where we grab our favorite cup of tea and then start talking about things in a very informal manner. It is also an opportunity for you to collaborate, network, and extend the horizon of knowledge by talking with everybody in here. So please grab that opportunity. And some ground rules. Please mute yourself when you are not talking because there could be sound disturbance. Other than that, it is a very informal session, so we are good to go. I'd like to introduce our host today, and for that, I'd also like to share the screen. Okay, this is Dr. Jaina. Thank you so much for hosting the session. She is a plastic surgeon, former chairperson of Medical Advisory Committee, CMAC, and former clinical governance lead of the Patient Safety Project at the Federal Teaching Hospital, FTS, Gombe in Northeast Nigeria. She is an AuthorAID steward. She is a mother of 3 children, leads a wellness and fitness startup, and is a regular blogger. Thank you. Moving on. I'd also like to introduce Dr. Joyce. She is PSYD clinical psychology, is a consultant, clinical and counseling psychologist and research mentor under Goira Foundation Kenya. She is a research steward under AuthorAID and a co-facilitator of the AuthorAID Social Sciences Journal Club. She is a global award winner at APA 2018 and a TED Talk 2020 laureate on humor for resilience. She enjoys fostering holistic well-being and mental health in researchers. You can find her full profile at www.wangari.africa. And now I'd like to hand the session over by thanking everybody for joining in and for Dr. Zainab and Dr. Joyce for agreeing to hosting the session. I'd like to hand this over. Thank you.
Thank you, Asta. I think you were trying to share the second screen, but it didn't come up, but that's okay, no problem.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Asta, and welcome again, everybody. Thank you so much. Special thank you to Dr. Wangari for agreeing to this. I informed her on short notice and she was here. So we're going to talk to you today about your wellness, especially as a researcher in academia. And because there's a lot to say, we're going to try to pack into this 1 hour. We're only going to allow question and answers, maybe one question halfway through, and then at the end, we're going to have like a short mindfulness meditation session, and then we'll open to question and answers depending on how the time goes. So just before I hand over to Dr. Wangari, I'm going to just introduce us to the infographic we're going to be using. It's specifically called the Wheel of Life, and it makes it easy to put a lot of things into context. Asta, if you could just share screen, I envisage this will happen. So if you could just share screen from the first one. All right. So it's called the Wheel of Life. It divides, there are several versions. This one we picked up because it was the easiest we could find. There's several versions on the internet. It divides life into the various aspects: family, education, finances, and it will help to guide us through. Thank you so much for that, Asta. So that's the version we're going to be using. And Dr. Wangari will be
share
taking...
the slide?
No, I think it's good here. Thank you.
Okay.
So Dr. Wangari will be starting off. As you can see, you are in the middle of this, and we're going to teach you a few tips and tricks of how to create a balanced life, going by the Wheel of Life, and how to detect if there's a problem and how to manage. So without further ado, Dr. Wangari, please take it up. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So these are just nuggets to guide our conversation, but we would like it to be highly interactive. So keep introducing yourself in the chat. And it's so wonderful to see you all this new year. The original Wheel of Life was invented by Paul J. Meyer, as you can see on the screen. And I see quite a lot of introductions still coming in. And thank you also for sharing the links, Asta. That's really useful, especially for our guests who would like to join in. So just to digging into how are we doing, I'm pretty much familiar with all of us as researchers or as academicians, as scholars, as students, developing in different facets or areas of life. And so I'd like to take us through 3 of them, and then I will also invite my colleague to continue with the other 3. So I'd like to start with the educational and mental. So you have a muscle that you're growing every day by inputting a lot of knowledge. And I'm sure some of you have heard of the academic angle when people are doing, especially PhD, there's just a lot of talk now and a lot of memes going around about when you have so much knowledge going on. And in the mental space, what can we identify as some challenges that we are facing, as some strengths that we actually have to cope? So I'd like us to talk about just briefly what this entails. Of course, in the mental sphere, we're talking about your thoughts, the quality of your thoughts. Are you actually actively inputting healthy, knowledge into your mind? Are you able to deal with negative thoughts in a timely way? That's really critical in the mental sphere. Then, of course, the emotional also is implied. And when we talk about self-care, it has become a buzzword in the wellness or well-being and happiness space. But we want each one of us to be able to handle our body, our mind, in a sense that we can operate optimally. So for mental self-care, how you think about different things affects your mind and dramatically influences your psychological well-being. And therefore, I'd like to know if any of you do any things to boost your mental ability, agility, such as, do you do puzzles? Do you do games? Do you learn new languages? Do you read good books? What do you do? Do you watch good movies? Do you listen to good music? Do you write journals? It is basically those things that help you maintain your mental well-being and state of mind. We'd also like to really nail down how to manage when we have difficulties. A lot of us are having a lot of mental overload. I have had a lot of people struggling with mental overload. I can see a lot of good things that we are doing to cope. I'm seeing music, keep them coming, introduce yourself, and please just type in the chat as we go along each of these sections. So how then are we, some people are saying journaling, music, a lot more introductions coming in. Allow me to skip reading those just for the interest of time, but we'll swing back to them later. Mindfulness, meditation, wow, yeah. So that's what you're doing for your mental optimum performance. And we know that the brain also is connected to the body. So let me swing again to the physical and health sector, whereby obviously your brain will be in optimal functioning and your educational pursuits will be great if your overall health is good. And so keeping up with exercise, sleep, adequate sleep is a big problem for us scholars, and especially when deadlines become tight. Balanced diet, ensuring that we are eating wholesome foods and eating in good time amidst really busy schedules. I know sometimes we may forget to eat on time. Somebody said sleep and sometimes movies. That's amazing. That's what you're doing for your health. Thank you so much, Dr. Khalifa. Keep them coming. I really would like us to apply this directly to our journeys. How are we able to take care of ourselves in each of these spheres? And I'll also just touch on financial and career. So basically, we know that a lot of our scholars, especially in the global south, struggle because we have to mostly fund the research we are doing in our postgraduate programs out of pocket, and a lot of our careers may take a pause when we get to school. So the financial struggle doesn't need any more explanation. It is real, it is there. A lot of us have struggled through not having enough money to get through school. And so what are you doing to ensure that you at least will complete your program in good time and have everybody aware if you're facing a challenge in order that you begin to formulate solutions? I'm really curious to know for the third sphere of financial and career, what challenges are you facing? what coping strategies are you using? How are you actually identifying the problem and how are you managing it? So I think up to there, these were just timely little nuggets to help us to connect with the reality of we are human beings before we are scholars. So I'd also like Dr. Zainab to weigh in on the others as we go along. I can see lots more introductions coming in, no problem, keep them coming, as well as any comments you have about this short presentation. Then we'll open up the floor for comments. Welcome, Dr. Zainab.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wangari. Succinct, straight to the point, like the experts that you are. Okay, so Dr. Wangari has touched on 3 sectors. Let me talk on the others. Let's talk about social and cultural, particularly for researchers. Increasingly more and more researchers from the global south are going to the global north for education. And when you do that, just as we signed in, Ututo was telling us that he's recently went to Canada. If he was going there for the first time, especially if he was going there for school, there's likely to be culture shock. The weather itself isn't very friendly. You're coming from this part of Africa. And of course, there's a tendency for you to feel alone because most likely you won't know anybody there. It's so important that you keep to know that as human beings, we're not meant to live in isolation. We are social human beings. And the more connection you have socially, the better for you. And it's always nice to, as much as possible, integrate into the culture you find yourself in. It's difficult. It's good to know that, yes, it's not so easy when you start, but you should make an effort because overall it's good for you. And hence why we have this session, this tea time session, which is a social, essentially an informal gathering of AuthorAID people. And for this one, we opened it out to everybody so that you know that there's so many ways in which you can connect. Let me quickly go to this video that was going around social media for a while. It was a TED Talk, a 75-year-old study that was conducted by Harvard University some time back. And they had followed their participants for 75 years at the time of that TED Talk. And out of the people that they had followed, 2 had gone on to become presidents of the United States. They had people who went on to become doctors, who went into academia and different walks of life. And the assessment was, of all those who were followed, those who had the most successful life by their criteria were those who had very strong social connections. So if you're looking for a reason not to be a hermit, you found one. Make sure you reach out to people. Yes, we've heard of cases of racist comments, racism. Yes, it will happen, but it is not for you to paint everybody with the same wide brush. Yes, you will find people who are nasty, but it's good to know that there are good people out there. And in fact, the majority of people are good people. So that's it for social. So how do you now identify that there's a problem? If you find that you're the kind of person who in your normal state, you socialize like 3-4 times a month, and you find that when you're in this academic environment, or you find yourself in academia, whether at home or abroad, you find that you're not going out more than once a month, it's time for you to realize, I need to get out and do something about it before it gets to a stage where I can't manage anymore. And how can you manage? Join gatherings. They're often informal meetings, different places. And don't forget, it's been found that when you volunteer, when you serve a purpose larger than you, it's good for your mental health, and it's been scientifically proven to be very good for your heart, for your well-being, and your overall health. Now let's go to spiritual and ethical. For the spiritual, I like to divide into three different segments. One is your relationship with yourself. Dr. Wangari has talked about that. Your relationship with your environment, that includes the people around you, and of course, your relationship with your higher power. So for your relationship with yourself, I do not want to repeat what Dr. Wangari has said. If you notice that you're beginning to get into negative self-talk, then it's time for you to pay attention to your thoughts. Look at your thoughts in the context of reality. So for example, let's assume you're doing a research. As a researcher, you're supposed to have finished, let's say, the introduction of your thesis at the end of January. And here you are on the 16th of January and you haven't gone beyond one page. And then you start to say, can you ever do anything right? Are you ever going to finish? That's negative. Sit yourself down and be like, okay, yes, I'm a little behind by my goals, but that's not the end of the world. What can I do to help? Is there somebody I can reach out to? Now we're going back to your social connection. There are people around you. And of course, we've talked about you, those around you. And then now let's go to your relationship with your higher power. Whatever you refer to as your higher power, it could be the universe, you could call him God, whatever you call him. It's so good that you have a very good relationship when things are good with your higher power, because there will be times when it's as if life throws you nothing other than curveballs. And that is the time when you're going to need to sit down and reach out to this higher power for help. And my favorite quote when I come to talk about your relationship with a higher power is what is known as a serenity prayer for those who know it. And those who don't know it, it says, Lord, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Sometimes this can be so calming when you sit down and affirm and reaffirm this and hand over the outcome to your higher power. That is how you start to manage when things start to go downhill. How about family and home? We know, as Dr. Wangari has said, that academia can be a really challenging, tough for anybody. If you look at the statistics, there's a very high suicide rate the higher you go into academia, and it's highest when you get to PhD and its equivalent. And I don't think the reason is far-fetched. There's a lot of work, and of course, there's demand from family, home, family. And in talking about this, I like to refer to something Dr. Gabor Mate said in one of his talks. He struggles with a particular mental illness, and he said one day that his wife told him that when he starts to struggle, I think it's anxiety he has, when he's getting those anxiety attacks, the wife says he becomes essentially a monster in the home. Now imagine that he's struggling on the inside, and that is when he becomes a monster on the outside. This is when he needs help and he's scaring people away. So this is the point where I invite everybody to mend your relationship with your family and let them know that this academia I'm in, if you can cooperate with me and let me know when, in quotes, I'm becoming a monster, or when I'm withdrawing, when I'm no longer the mother, when I'm no longer the father, when I'm no longer the brother that I used to be, gently draw me back and help me so that I can finish in a nice state of mind, and I can and be back to that family, to that brother, that mother, that sister that you know. So it's so important. And then when you put all the segments together, you can when you try to balance them, you're likely to come out as a more balanced human. So at this point, I think I will ask Dr. Wangari if she has anything to add, and then we can open the floor to questions and comments.
I have nothing to add. I think you've said it so wonderfully. I think we can all relate with these facets. As you had said earlier, the Wheel of Life is found online, and there are different versions, but we thought this was simple and easy to follow. So I would really like to now open up the floor to a set of questions. I don't know if this is a good time to go to the next slide. So we're looking at these 6 areas, generally speaking, and I have typed them in the chat. So what I'd like us to do is 2 things. Please go to the next slide. How do we identify and how do we manage? And we could focus on any of them at a go, because the hour goes so fast and we'll finish at the top of the hour. Yeah. So you could pick one and tell us what you think is a major challenge you have observed. Feel free to say only what's you're comfortable to share, either at an individual level or you've also observed it with your colleagues at a group level, in your campus, in your institution, in your country? What do you see there? I made a list of what everybody said they are doing so far for coping, and keep those things coming. So in the different spheres, the one that seems to be quite high on the list is music. There's a lot of people who use music for coping. There was a lot of people who said sleep. Sleep is one way they just sleep, and sleep actually is medicine. It is a regenerative, restorative activity. So sleep should be taken very seriously. Adults, we need an average of 7 to 9 hours. Somebody else said movies. Those three topped the list: music, sleep, and movies. It seems a lot of us do those, and those are all healthy coping strategies to manage our self-care on our well-being. And then there was just one person who mentioned mindfulness meditation. I don't know if all of us know what that is, but towards the end, we will have one practical one. Somebody else said walking around is what they do. And then somebody said dancing. So I see a comment from one of us, Paul. I have discovered over the years that academics is so demanding. I used to watch movies and rest some of the time. Feel free if you would like to unmute, and we'd like to really hear your voices now. This is really the time where you participate. This is supposed to be participatory. So if you are able to unmute, you can raise your hand, your virtual hand on the chat. And then I see we have a hand, Alexandra. Welcome. Sorry if I butcher your name, and then Paul will be next. Welcome. Can you hear us, Alex? I'm not sure if it's my internet, but
okay.
Can anybody...
Yes, we
Is
can
it
hear her
better?
now.
Okay,
Yes.
welcome.
Sorry.
Welcome.
What I've been doing lately is that I take walks with a colleague, well, actually a friend from work. So we take a walk around campus and we discuss like whatever may be bothering us, or we give each other advice on, I mean, if I'm having trouble with a student, she can give me advice. If she's having trouble with something else, I can give her advice. And we also gossip, well, not gossip, but we also talk like about our lives. And it's actually very fun. And I look forward to that every day.
I particularly like the gossip part because we need to commiserate. We actually need to really, speak about what is so. If it is tough and it's difficult, then that is a good coping strategy. Hopefully it is goal directed and it's not degenerating into resignation, but it is, commiserating with colleagues about, oh my goodness, did you see that assignment, and so that you're using that to get over it. So that's really interesting and has generated quite some emojis in the chat. A lot of people are identifying with that. And that's part of the socialization that Dr. Zainab was talking about in your social life, having friends that you can fall back on, and that social capital really helping, move along. I know with technology nowadays, it's really easy to start student groups, peer buddy groups, whatever you call them, cell groups, pods, so that you are journeying along, academics with your colleagues, and that makes it so much more fun and less a load, on each person. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Dr. Zainab, feel free to chip in at any time.
Thank you. So whilst we're waiting for Paul to unmute, I'd just like to add again that you can see that Alex didn't say she waits until when she's feeling down to go on walks with this person. So all these things that you do, when you do them right, they're like a defense mechanism for you. Imagine if you have a football team, no matter how good they are, they're full of all the Messis and Ronaldos of this world. They're both strikers. If you do not have a defense, it's a matter of time before, what was the first team to leave the World Cup? Before that first team beats them. So when you do this, you have social connections, and you realize that, okay, I've not gone on this walk with this friend in 1 week when we've been going out 3 times a week, then you know something is wrong, and that person is likely to check on you. So you can see how these form like a defense mechanism for you for when those curveballs come, because it's life. There will always be curveballs once in a while. Thank you. So I think we can take Hassan now. Paul Hassan.
Welcome.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. I really want to appreciate AuthorAID for this opportunity. Now, concerning this topic is very, very germane, and I've discovered that as academicians, most of the time we don't really have time for ourselves. And I'm talking from my own personal experience. And when it comes to academic work, I take it, it eats deep into me. At times I sleep very late in the night because I want to meet some deadlines. And I know that it's not only me that is experiencing this, it cut across because we want to publish some papers, we have some chapters that we have to meet up with. So all that has been eating some of my time. So at times I used to watch movies, listen to music. Even at times when I'm resting, I discover that I will still be reading. And receiving calls, social media too, is also affecting us. And I think it is time we have to socialize too, because if care is not taken, we discover that being an academician will not be able to socialize with other people. And those are those things that I've experienced from my own hand. And we should find time to unwind from all our academic activities at times, so that our future, our generation, they need us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You have raised a really important point of overall, we have increased responsibilities and reduced time. Yep. So one of the things that gets sacrificed in most academic journeys is actually socialization time. It almost just seems to get out the window really fast. It becomes the thing that becomes less seen as less prioritized in the list of many demands. And I see somebody actually completely agreeing with that. I will not mention the name. I'm very grateful for this session. I am a new medical graduate from the Cameroon. I have a lot of stressors, particularly within the family and social facet. People always complain about my attitude of being preserved and self-centered, which I think is bad anyway. But for me, being out there gives me the impression of wasting time meant for some valuable work, perhaps. Sadly, there isn't any valuable work. I need help on how to handle this. Thank you so much for sharing. And that's why we are here, and we will help you. All of us here collectively have the answer. Nobody has, the expert perfect answer, but we are also really grateful, and we really appreciate all of you scholars for the sacrifice of getting into a program amidst the challenges in our society, in the family. One of the things I kept feeling throughout my studies is that I had taken time to actively learn and graduate while a lot of the norms in society kept shifting. It looked like it's not valuable. So I totally relate with you. The idea that you're doing all this work, especially like research, publishing, most of it is free labor. You don't really get paid each and every time you publish, and it may seem as not important. A very good example, in the home front, you're sitting with your laptop. There is responsibilities in the family circle, and you're seen to be doing nothing because you're only sitting at your laptop. This is a very common experience that many of us had, especially around COVID time when we were in lockdown and had to make do with, working from home. So what is considered valuable in society, and then not being able to make ends meet because of taking the sacrifice. So first of all, to really truly acknowledge you and appreciate you. You are precious for taking on, a scholarly journey as if you're swimming against the tide, at all odds. So that's the first thing I really want you to get. And I think also I'll have Dr. Zainab chime in and anybody else. And I see a lot of people agreeing with that comment.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, I think I'll add to it that thank you so much for resident for being bold enough to share that. That couldn't have been easy to share. But my question to you will be, you should establish what your baseline is. And one good example I like to use is when you compare, like in Nigeria, Southwest Nigeria is known as like the party capital of Nigeria. They love to party. Every weekend there's a party. If it's not some burial of some grandma, it's the 70th birthday of some grandma. So there's always a party. And they really look forward to this. Sometimes you're hopping from one party to the other in one weekend. Unlike the northern part of the country where I come from, if it's not a wedding, which is usually a solemn occasion, it's like a naming. So we do not do that. So a baseline socialization for me from northern Nigeria is not the same as the same person who is from Southwest Nigeria. So if you find somebody from Southwest Nigeria coming to northern Nigeria for, okay, somebody said 80 years anniversary of grandma. Yeah. So if you find somebody from Southwest Nigeria coming to my part of the country, it's going to be like some kind of culture shock for them. They used to partying every weekend. So my suggestion for you will be establish your baseline. And if you still think that this is different from your baseline, it's lower than what is your baseline, then my suggestion will be there's always somebody around you. Do you have a classmate you could reach out to? You said you're a recent medical graduate, so you're probably doing a housemanship. You're probably in a team with another house officer. Can you reach out to them and be like, what do you like to do for fun? If it's sports, can I join you? If they say basketball, okay, I don't play basketball, but I like to watch. And that's how you start start socializing. And it's good to know that at the time when you need this thing most is the time when you feel the most resistance to doing it. So you know you need to socialize because now you've established that you're below your baseline. But it's going to be a little hard, especially if it's in a different environment. But if you realize that this is a defense, this is for your mental health, that should give you the will to go. Dr. Wangari?
I really think you've nailed it. Resident, have you found some tips that you could use? I'm getting from what Dr. Zainab is saying, there's quite some negotiation to do in our circles. One of the things that happened is I got a loss of friendships because of reduced frequency of meeting, and they made it mean something. They interpreted it as I'm not their friend anymore. And I recall after the completion of my studies, although I had tried to notify all my friends and family of this elephant in the room that I'm trying to, complete my studies. Even after I completed my studies, I'm still now just trying to, get back, to some of the friendships that had to stall. So I'm getting that the challenge could be in negotiating around family dynamics and societal and what is considered of value, and how do you get money to get through, all these different spaces, especially being in school continuously. So I don't know if that was useful to the one who asked the question.
Okay, so whilst we're waiting for him to respond, Ishak Lawal has his hand up.
Sure. And meanwhile, Asta, could you please go to the last slide where we have both pictures? So those who came in can see there's different facets we are talking about. Thank you. Ishak, you may unmute. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm not in the academic. I'm not sure I'm the right space, but I'm very happy to be here because it's a life lesson I'm picking up. And I just feel I should add my voice to it, even though I'm not in the academic. But one way or the other, it is a lesson that cuts across that you can find useful. So for me, one of the things the biggest stressor, if I will say, is finance, based on what we allow people to expect of us rather than what our own value is. So we need to proactively work according to our means rather than according to what people think we are. And the day we get to that realization, such that we proactively prevent this pressure, we are not this, we are not that, we are not achieving that, there is always a level for everybody. And you can be happy at your level if you remain at your level, or you can be sad even when you are higher. So we need to have that frank discussion with ourselves and also have that frank discussion with our family members, because they are the immediate ones that are the receiving end when they think we are investing too much time into activities that is not bringing in money. I'm using for you that you are in the academics, for example. For me, I am in the social space. I have an NGO, and it's more of voluntary thing. I just want to, my joy is just to impact, and it's not bringing money. I am not meeting, quote and unquote, societal standard of what a consultant should be doing, yet I'm bringing money to do other things. So you need to have that discussion, frankly, with the family and agree at a balancing. If you don't have that balancing, it will continue to be a stressor point, because the expectation will be coming and it might start depressing you. But if you already have that discussion beforehand, that might help you as a preventive measure rather than having to deal with it when it happens. I just felt I should add that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm getting those
Fantastic.
words as frankness, being open, congruence, being authentic, being
Yep.
genuine. And those are individual ways we can cope and manage. And then I think that some of us have also really gone through toxic situations where, you try to explain to family, but they will not accept that you're doing this sacrifice of being in school. And so I think another layer to add there is, where is your safety net? Where can you fall back when, this thing of being through school is taking out money and not adding any money at the moment? There isn't any value. And you are so right. It seems like in society, value is mostly measured from outwardly things, sadly. However, the work you're doing sounds like it's deeply fulfilling for you, and you're doing amazing with the NGO space. And remember, even doing this kind of work without monetary gain is in its own way transforming how people are looking at, the social services sector or the consultancy sector. And then you standing your ground with the values that you have as different from people's financial expectations will really help. But we have had also many instances of scholars who need to be rescued. There are other factors. In most cases, if we're talking about gender, we know that a lot of women experience more violence in the home. Immediately they get into postgraduate programs because it seems as if they are careless with their caregiving tasks, which is actually not the case. It's only that there's more responsibilities, and the children will have to be fed, and at the same time, school will have to continue. So I think we have to look at it more holistically and think about this context that we have put on the screen now called the balanced human. How can you be okay if the people around you are not okay? And how can you go through school with all the tragedies that are still ongoing? We've had individual factors, we've had of institutional factors, then we've had of other factors. COVID came and seemed to go. We don't know if it's gone. We are dealing with layers and layers of stressors that need help and support at all levels. So thank you so much. That was a wonderful contribution, quite timely.
Yeah.
So as we are approaching the top of the hour, I'd like us to wrap up on this. Which other things do you identify as a current stressor, and how do you manage it? So those are the two focus areas, and these are the different spheres that I have also posted in the chat. I see a hand up, and before we take Fortune, Dr. Zainab, did you have anything to add?
I really loved Isiak's comments. I remember him from medical school. He's always been a giver, and it's really good for the heart, it's good for the soul, it's good for your mental health when you're able to serve something large, something greater than you. Well done, and thank you so much for that contribution. Thank you. All right. So
All right,
Fortune.
Welcome.
All right, good afternoon. It's afternoon here in Nigeria, almost evening. I don't know if you can hear me.
Clearly.
Okay, great. So first, I really, really appreciate Residence for his honesty. I mean, not everybody would want to, be this honest. So it shows that it's a very, very important thing in the academia, things about mental and what the point he raised about taking a break being a waste of time is a very, very valid is a valid, should I say, argument or something, because I think it's applicable to so many of us, and we saw that many persons were already agreeing to that. So this is what I think. For me, I think that even as an academia, it is very important to have a very strong social support system, whether it is your family or whether it is your friends. I think that it's very important that you invest in these social support systems. Why? Because I think that academia cannot always sustain itself. I mean, if you, for example, you publish or you get a promotion, you would just be happy for a period of time. And then there will be a time that it cannot sustain, that happiness cannot be sustained. So if you have a strong support system, you can now tap your happiness from some other thing, maybe your kids at home, maybe your wife, making love to your wife and all those kind of things. Because I think that if you don't invest in these social support systems now or at the right time, eventually you will still pay for them. Why am I saying this? I see many very successful academians, in quote successful, with about 7 relationships, 7 women and the rest, divorcing and getting married again. So I ask myself, where do they get the time to, one woman and to the other? So I feel that some of these persons, their problem, some of them have family issues, they have issues with their children and they need to battle it and all those kind of things. So I feel that some of them, their problem is that they did not invest in family, in relationship, in social support at the right time. And if you do not invest at the right time, maybe you're looking at it as a waste of time. It is going to haunt you in the future. It is going to haunt you later in the future, and you spend even more time taking care of the issues that may come out of it. So investing in family, or let me just say the right thing at the right time, definitely pays more than, trying to avoid it and, trying to say you're focusing on your academia. So the conclusion is that I don't think that there is an end to professionalism, to professional goals and aspirations. So for me, what I like to do is to try as much as possible to balance and create a strong social support system for myself. No matter how it looks like the old world is leaving me behind, I agree. I believe that in the end, it boils down to individual, what is important for me. And what is important for me is family, friends, and all those things are equally as important as my professional achievements. So that is what I think.
Yeah, thank you so much for affirming that that aspect of socialization is quite important. And for those of us who may struggle with balancing, you've given us some tips on what we need to do in order to change our mindset around it. Some people will say, I'm an introvert. How can I keep socializing with everybody? The truth is, even introverts don't have to be soft-spoken. You can have 2 or 3 or 1 friend that you regularly meet, and that is a source of strength. So you can be an introvert and also outspoken about what it is that matters to you. So really good tips there. I see we are moving towards the place where I'll hand over back to Dr. Zainab, but I wanted to read a comment here from Miriam. I try to do what I can do and try to have enough rest. I say no if I do not have the strength to do it. An uncle advised me to always go out to gatherings and socialize. Prayer gives me confidence to laugh and be happy away from boredom. Though sometimes I miss my target, but I keep on going. I take care of the kids and my mom, who is a cancer patient living with me. I'm happy to learn from this great audience. I'm so glad you could join and that you're doing everything to be well in all aspects as much as possible. One of my professors had advised me that if I can take at least 1 social gathering a month, then at least I can keep up with what's going on out there. You don't want to be super ignorant as an academic, only holed up in your room and not knowing that there's a riot going on in town or any, current affairs. And so I'm not sure about the frequency that each one of you will take socialization, but I think that it's good to have a baseline, as Dr. Zainab said, and identify how to negotiate, especially negotiating with your family, because it's a transition and they are facing it, the close family is facing it. as well as you are. And on the day of graduation, especially in the global South, we have big parties and big ceremonies, and we really take it as a communal affair. So while you think your academic journey might just be about you and your individual affair, in most cases, especially in Africa, you'll find that it is a communal affair. So taking every step to take every input you can from those around you will be useful, and being wise to know who to confide in. Not everybody will give you support. Some people will have negative input into your journey. So thank you so much, everyone. I feel also quite empowered, and I've learned a lot from the different ways each one of us is coping. A lot more people talked about rest. I've seen a lot of rest. Remember, rest is different from sleep, and we can have restful sleep as well. So Christian activities, praying, things like that, religious activities, amazing. So I'd now like to invite Dr. Zainab, if you have any last comments, and then guide us through the final exercise to the top of the hour. Thank you.
Just a quick one that stood out for me from what Fortune said. And I'm happy that he was implying that it is the male gender that is mostly affected. And what I want to bring out is, when it comes to burnout and stress, men tend to react differently from women. Research has found that women tend to seek for help more, and men tend to turn to maladaptive behavior. If they're married, they have affairs. If they're not married, they jump from one partner to the other, and they drink, they do substance. So if you have a friend who you see as somebody that wasn't him, and you see him suddenly becoming that, there's something, and I think it would be nice if you can reach out to them or ask somebody that is close to them to reach out to them, because those are signs that they're crying out in a subconscious way that there's something wrong, help me, even though they're not putting it into words. Thank you. So now I would like to guide us through a very short mindfulness meditation practice. This is something you can come back to every time. It's free, and there are you can do it for a long period, you can do it for a short period, and it's particularly helpful when it's as if you're getting overwhelmed. Deadlines are calling, your supervisor is calling, you have to be here. There's a lot of problem, and it's as if you can't cope anymore. This is a way where you can get centered, and you can do this as frequently as you can. So what I would invite everybody to do, if you're seated, I'd like you to sit and keep your back nice and straight. Sit tall, no slouching. And for me, I like to have my feet on the bare floor, especially if my floor is tiled. Where I am right now, my floor is tiled. I like to have my feet flat on the floor, and I like to have my hands palm down on my knees. And if you like, you can close your eyes, but you do not have to close your eyes. So just let's do a short breathing exercise before we go into this mindfulness session. So for this breathing, I would want you to take a deep breath in. When I say in, you take it in through the nose, and when I say out, you take it out through the mouth, but the exhale should be longer than the inhale, and you try to breathe out through the mouth like you're trying to blow out a candle. So I'll just do a quick demo before you follow me. So when I say in, that was about 3 seconds. And when I say out, a much longer exhale. There are different variations, but this is my favorite, and I think is the easiest to master. So now can you all take a very deep breath in for me, in through the nose. And then gently out, like you're trying to blow out a candle. Can we do that 2 more times? Deep breath in for me, please. And then out really long. One last one in. And then out. We can now return to our normal breathing, but listen to my voice and then pay attention to whatever it is that you're hearing around you. If you're in a place where you can hear the voices of people, Just notice and accept whatever you're hearing, no judging. Next, take your attention to my voice. Can you hear my voice? And just follow my prompts. And everything you hear, you'll just listen, notice, and accept without judgment. Next, let's take our attention inwards. And when I say inwards, I want us to start from the very top of the head. And as you bring your attention to the top of your head, pay attention to any sensation you're feeling. Some will say they have a tingling sensation. Whatever you feel, just let there be a wave of relaxation, and you feel that very top of the head just slowly relax. Next, feel that wave of relaxation spreading to your brows. We tend to hold a lot of tension here. So as you breathe in and out, just feel that wave of relaxation, relax your brows and spread to your upper lids, and gently let the upper lids just lower a little as you continue to breathe in and out for me. Now move this attention to your nose and feel the very cool breeze as you breathe in. Nice deep breath. And slowly exhale. Now from where it is, let this wave of relaxation spread to your mouth. Just notice the temperature in your mouth. And if you had something to eat just before we started this, can you still taste what it is that you ate? And if you didn't eat anything, whatever sensation, whatever temperature in your mouth, just feel it, notice, and accept, and feel your entire tongue flow into your jaws. Just relax. Keep breathing in for me and out. Next, feel that wave of relaxation spreading from the jaws all the way to your shoulders. Let the shoulders nicely relax. Gentle, gentle, gentle relaxation. Relax as you continue to breathe in and breathe out. Next, feel that wave of relaxation spreading from your shoulders to your chest, and feel your chest really expand as you breathe in and fall as you breathe out. Keep breathing in and out. Can we let this wave of relaxation next spread to the tummy? Feel the tummy expand as you take a really nice deep breath in and slowly let it out, and feel the tummy collapse. Just notice and accept as this wave of relaxation spreads to the buttock weight in contact with where you're sitting. Just note the texture. If there's any change of temperature, just note it and accept it, no judgment, and feel it relax as it spreads all the way to the thighs and to the knees as you continue to breathe in and breathe out, and feel this wave of relaxation spreading again to your calves, all the way down to your ankles, and flows to the feet, and all the tension flowing out through your toes as everything relaxes. And gently, ever so gently, bring your attention back to me in the room here, and you can open your eyes if they were closed. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating in this session with us. I think we can take maybe just one question because we have just 1 minute to close, and then we can say thank you for joining us. Just one question. Thank you, Dr. Wangari.
Thank you to everyone. And just to say, we appreciate all of you for participating, and we are delighted to announce that we will be sharing more resources on wellness. I think we should come together as a body of scholars, and we recognize that our well-being is constrained by so many different forces, social, economic, political, at all levels. And these are things that we can come together and create healthy, constructive, enlightening tips. So we really appreciate you all, and look out for the next one. Thank you.
Thank you. But before you go, yes. Okay. Asta, would you like to do that? How do we remove the spotlight and bring everybody back? Asta, yes. Can you do that? All right, please do.
I've done
so
that.
We can take a picture. All right.
Can you please turn on your video?
Good.
How do I join AuthorAID? You can join us, join the membership forum. We have the Google group, and I'll also share the link to everything else too.
Yeah.
Join our Google group to be the member. We have over 26,000 members, which is a very huge number. So join in. I've shared all the social media links of AuthorAID. Please join us. Okay, shall we take the picture now?
Yeah.
Is everyone ready?
Yes, we are.
Okay, please smile. I'll take another one. So,
Paul, you're not smiling.
okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. Please stay connected with us. And thank you so much, Dr. Joey Sanjayna, for hosting the session today. Yes, stay connected.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye, everybody. Bye. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Wangari. Bye, Asta. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. God bless you.
Bye. Video, play. Video for this thing.